So here's our one kind of bas-relief model of the endocrine system. And the endocrine system is a system that, unlike other body systems, is not really related structurally, in the sense that all the organs are connected with each other or in the same basic location, or they all have the same basic structure. That's definitely not the case. What joins these organs together into a system is that they all have a functional connection, in that they all produce hormones that act as chemical messages in the body. Okay, so we have a large number of organs to take a look at. The first one we're going to look at is the pituitary gland. Okay, if we were looking at the brain, the pituitary would be here attached to the hypothalamus by a stalk called the infundibulum. As we look at the larger view of the pituitary here, you can see the stalk, the infundibulum, and you can see that there are two distinct regions of tissue in the pituitary. The posterior pituitary is the part that is an actual outgrowth of the brain, so it looks more like neural tissue, axons, and the posterior pituitary does not produce its own hormones. It's actually a storage site for hormones that are produced by the hypothalamus. Okay? The anterior pituitary, on the other hand, is an actual endocrine organ, produces several different hormones, many of which are vitally important for us as humans, like growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, etc. Okay, so the anterior pituitary is the true endocrine portion of the pituitary, and it is actually an outgrowth of the oral mucosa, believe it or not. Okay, and there are some individuals who have birth defects that connect their oral cavity to their cranial cavity, which can be a huge issue. Okay, so when you're looking at the histological specimen of the pituitary, you want to look for that division between these two types of tissue. Okay, so you should see that there is a space, actually, because the only specimen we have has a defect in it where the two types of tissue got pulled away from each other. So you'll see a space, and you'll see what looks like one type of tissue on one side that's dense with a lot of cells. You'll see another type of tissue that looks more like groups of axons on the other side. That is our specimen of the pituitary. Okay? The other structure in the brain is what you can see here. It's part of the epithalamus. That is the pineal gland. We don't have an enlargement of that on this model, but the pineal gland produces the hormone melatonin, which helps us regulate our sleep cycles. Okay, going down, we're going to look right here at this structure, which is the thyroid gland. Okay, and the thyroid gland is enlarged over here. You can see it has two lobes connected by a joined area called the isthmus. Okay, and the thyroid produces a very important hormone that's actually a combination of two separate hormones, and those are metabolic hormones that maintain our basal metabolic rate. If you have too much of these hormones, you get hyperthyroidism, your heart rate goes up, you lose weight, you have muscle tremors. If you have too little of this hormone, you could gain weight because your metabolism is too slow, and you'll have other issues as well. Okay, so that's the thyroid gland. This is an anterior view of the thyroid. If we looked at the posterior side of the thyroid, here's the two halves of the thyroid again. Here's the isthmus holding them together. And you can see these white structures that are embedded in the posterior thyroid. Those are the parathyroid glands. Okay, and the parathyroid glands produce parathyroid hormone, which you may remember talking about in the section on bone. Parathyroid hormone is one of our main control mechanisms associated with bone remodeling. It helps maintain calcium homeostasis in the blood. So if calcium levels drop, the signal comes to the parathyroid glands to release parathyroid hormone. That causes bone remodeling, and osteoclasts chew up some of the bone and release the stored calcium so it can go into the blood. Okay, so those are the parathyroid glands. You can more easily live without your thyroid gland than you can without your parathyroid glands. Thyroid hormone, there's a synthroid, it's called, which is a type of synthetic thyroid hormone that you can take supplementally. But if you don't have your parathyroid glands, your calcium homeostasis is really going to be affected, and that can lead to heart failure. Okay. All right, let's go down. We're going to go past the heart. We're going to get to the abdomen, and we have the pancreas here. Okay, so if we looked inside the pancreas, we would find the pancreatic islets. And the pancreatic islets are the endocrine portion of the pancreas. Most of the pancreas works as part of the digestive system, producing enzymes. You'll talk about that in A&P2. The islets are the endocrine portion that contain the alpha and beta cells. The alpha cells produce glucagon. The beta cells produce insulin. And both of those hormones are important for glucose homeostasis in the blood. Insulin is more famous because of the connection between loss of the pancreatic islets and diabetes mellitus. Okay. If we go posteriorly now, we can see the kidneys here, and sitting like little hats on top of the kidneys, we have the adrenal glands. The adrenals are actually a combination of several glands in one. We have the adrenal cortex, which has 3 separate hormone-producing layers. And then we have the adrenal medulla, which is part of the sympathetic nervous system. Okay, so in the adrenal cortex, we have, starting from the most superficial, the zona glomerulosa. You can't really see the layers here. Then the zona fasciculata, and then the zona reticularis. Okay, all 3 of the layers produce steroid hormones. They're one of the few locations in the body that produce those types of hormones. Okay, and each layer, as I said, produces different hormones that have completely different effects. Okay, and we'll learn more about those effects in A&P2. Okay, let's drop down to the bottom here, and we have our reproductive organs, the ovaries, which you can see here, along with the uterine tubes and the uterus, and the testes, which you can see here. Okay, here's an enlargement of the testis. The hormone that's produced in the testis is testosterone, which is important for production of sperm, as well as secondary sex characteristics during puberty in males. And then we have the ovary over here. The ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, which are important to production of the female gametes, and also, again, to the development of secondary sex characteristics at puberty. Okay, so that's an overview of the endocrine system. Good luck on your practicals.